I never imagined that being called outdated or not trendy enough would become the most defining moment of my career. After more than 15 years of dedication, I was suddenly replaced by someone much younger, because, well, that was the new trend in the company. At first, I felt the sting of rejection, like I'd been tossed aside like yesterday's news. But here's the kicker. Just 2 years later, that very person who was supposed to bring fresh energy nearly destroyed everything we'd built. And when the company was on the brink of collapse, who do you think they called? Yep, me. But by then, I wasn't the same person waiting by the phone. I had just accepted a director position at a competitor, ready to build something new. This story is about what happens when experience meets opportunity, and why sometimes the best comeback is knowing when not to come back at all. By the way, before we dive in, tell me in the comments. Ever seen someone get the revenge they really deserved? I read all of them. Hey, while you're here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Let's continue. My name is Lisa Monroe, and I'm 45 years old. For nearly 18 years, I built my career at Ridgeway Marketing, a well-known agency nestled in the heart of Chicago. I started as an entry-level strategist, and over time, earned a reputation as someone who could turn around tough campaigns and keep clients happy. I'm not the type to chase flashy trends or jump on every new buzzword, but I believe deeply in dedication, experience, and steady leadership. My colleagues relied on me, my clients trusted me, and I genuinely loved the work I did. Then everything changed when a new CEO, Marcus, took over the company. He was all about youth and fresh perspectives, buzzwords that quickly turned into my downfall. One afternoon, Marcus called me into his glass office overlooking the city skyline and told me bluntly that they were replacing me with someone younger, to keep things trendy. I remember sitting there stunned, the words barely sinking in. After almost 2 decades of loyalty, I was suddenly the old story no one wanted to hear anymore. A few days after that meeting, I was handed a formal letter confirming the company's decision. My position was being eliminated, replaced by a younger strategist they believed could revitalize the brand. I remember packing up my desk in that familiar Chicago office, each item, photos, awards, notebooks, feeling heavier than usual. It wasn't just about losing a job, it felt like losing a part of myself. The young replacement, Emily, was 25, fresh out of a trendy marketing program, and full of energy. The buzz around the office was electric. Everyone talked about how modern and in touch she was supposed to be. I tried to keep an open mind, even wished her luck, but the sting of being pushed aside for a trend was hard to swallow. That day, as I walked out of the building, I couldn't help but wonder, was my experience suddenly worthless? Or had I simply become invisible in a world obsessed with the new and shiny? About a year after I left Ridgeway Marketing, life had started to settle into a new rhythm. I was freelancing, networking, and quietly plotting my next move. Then came the grapevine, fast, unforgiving, and downright juicy. Rumors began to spread that Emily, the young trendsetter who replaced me, was, well, struggling. I caught up with Jenna, an old colleague who still worked at Ridgeway, over coffee one afternoon in a cramped downtown cafe. Jenna's eyes were wide, like she'd just witnessed a reality TV meltdown. "Lisa, you won't believe it," she whispered, glancing around as if the walls might have ears. "Emily's decisions are tanking the whole client portfolio. Last quarter's numbers, a disaster." I raised an eyebrow, sipping my latte. Disaster, huh? Was she at least trying to disrupt something? Jenna laughed dryly. "Oh, she disrupted all right, mostly the team's morale. Clients are jumping ship faster than you can say brand refresh. The CEO's freaking out. They called an emergency meeting last week, said the place looks like a circus." I smiled, but it wasn't exactly joy. More like vindicated disbelief. A few weeks later, my phone rang. The caller ID said Ridgeway Admin. My heart skipped. "Lisa, it's Monica from HR," a voice said, overly polite but with an edge of desperation. "I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time, but we need your help. Things aren't going well here. Emily's, well, let's just say she's not the savior we hoped for." I chuckled softly. "Sounds like you're calling in the cavalry." Monica sighed. "Exactly. We know it's unusual, but we need someone who knows the company and can steer this ship before it sinks. Are you interested in coming back?" I paused. My mind flashed back to that glass office, the blinds, the corporate buzzwords about fresh energy. "Monica," I said slowly, "I appreciate the call, but I'm not sure the fresh energy you wanted is the same as the experience you need." There was silence on the other end. I'll think about it, I added, knowing full well I had a decision to make, one that could change everything. As I hung up, I couldn't help but think, Trendy may have its day, but sometimes the old guard still knows how to win the war. When Monica's call came, part of me felt the familiar tug of loyalty, like a seasoned captain hearing her old ship was taking on water. But the other part was wary. After all, I wasn't the same Lisa Monroe who'd quietly cleaned up Ridgway's campaigns for almost 2 decades. I'd grown. I'd learned to value myself more than a trendy label slapped on my resume. And besides, life had already started opening new doors. Still, the call wasn't exactly a casual invite, it was a desperate plea. "We're bleeding clients, Lisa," Monica said, her voice tight but pleading. "You know the company better than anyone. We need you back, just to steady things for a little while." I leaned back, recalling the day she'd told me to step aside for fresh blood. "Monica," I said carefully, "if Ridgway really wants to fix this, it's not just about who's sitting in the office. It's about how the company's culture changed overnight. It's about trust, and right now no one trusts." Before I could say more, my phone pinged with a message from Jake, a longtime friend and mentor who now worked at Apex Creative, one of Ridgway's biggest competitors. "Hey, heard the circus is back in town. If you want a real shot at leadership, Apex is waiting, no clowns." I smiled. Jake had always been straightforward. He didn't mince words, and I appreciated that. But Ridgway wasn't just a job, it was a place full of memories and people I cared about. So I scheduled a meeting to hear them out, curious and cautious. The first hurdle appeared quickly. When I walked back into Ridgway's sleek office, now a glass and steel maze full of open-plan desks and beanbag chairs, I realized the place had changed almost as much as its leadership. Emily was everywhere, posting trendy TikTok-style campaign updates, hosting wellness dance breaks, and preaching innovation like it was a gospel. The staff seemed more exhausted than inspired. Jenna greeted me with a tired smile. "You should have seen last week's team meeting," she said, shaking her head. Emily spent 20 minutes explaining her vision with a PowerPoint full of emojis. The team just nodded politely and daydreamed about lunch. I chuckled. Emojis in corporate strategy, bold move. "Bold and baffling," Jenna agreed. "Nobody's buying it, and worse, clients aren't either." Next, I met with Tom, the finance director, whose expression could curdle milk. "Lisa, the budget's a mess," he said bluntly. Emily's ideas meant splurging on shiny but useless campaigns. We're $500K over target this quarter. And some of those innovations, let's just say our client retention rates are tanking. I frowned, picturing the client calls I wasn't there for. "So what exactly did she do?" I asked. Tom sighed. "She pulled the plug on our steady accounts to chase after some viral nonsense. Said it would revolutionize our brand. Instead, it alienated our core clients." As I processed this, Monica appeared, clipboard in hand, clearly juggling the weight of regret and urgency. "Lisa, the board's ready to give you authority to make changes, but there's resistance. Emily's got her supporters, and not all of them want you back." I raised an eyebrow. "Supporters? In a sinking ship." "More like loyal to the young and hip narrative," Monica said. "Some execs believe this is just a phase and Emily will turn it around. Others want a clean slate, which means you or someone like you." That night, I called my husband Mark for perspective. "You're walking into a mess, Lisa," he said pragmatically. "But it sounds like they know you're the only firefighter around. Just don't get burned." "Burned? That's the plan if they don't let me control the fire hose," I joked. The next days were a whirlwind. Every step forward was met with pushback. Emily's supporters whispered doubts about my old-school methods. The younger staff resented my presence as a threat to their newfound cool. In one meeting, I suggested focusing on rebuilding client trust with proven strategies, only to have a young creative retort. "Lisa, the market moves fast now. We can't be stuck in the past." I smiled politely. "True, but history also teaches us which trends are just flashes and which ones actually last." The tension was palpable. One afternoon, I caught Emily herself in the break room. She smiled a bit too brightly. "So you're the rescue plan, huh?" she said, handing me a kale smoothie. "Good luck with that." I took the smoothie and nodded. "Thanks, I'll need it." Underneath the banter, I sensed she was nervous, maybe even realizing the weight of expectations she couldn't meet. By the end of the week, I'd met with key clients who'd already started looking elsewhere. They didn't want flashy campaigns, they wanted reliability and results. I promised them I'd fight to bring Ridgway back to that place. Yet, as obstacles piled up from internal politics to budget constraints, I began to question, was coming back a second chance or a trap? Could I turn the ship around before it sank completely? And just when I thought I was ready to commit, a call came from Apex Creative, Jake on the line. Lisa, we're ready to make it official. Director's seat, full autonomy, and no emoji PowerPoints. The real question now, which future would I choose? After days of navigating Ridgway's tangled web of office politics and firefighting the fallout from Emily's missteps, I finally reached a turning point. A moment where I could see clearly what the real problem was and whether I had the power to fix it. It started with a quiet afternoon in the conference room, the kind where deadlines loom but the energy is low, like everyone's waiting for something to break. I sat with Tom, the finance director, and Jenna, my longtime ally. We pored over spreadsheets, client feedback, and campaign reports. The numbers weren't just bad, they were catastrophic. Lisa, Tom said, rubbing his temples, Emily's strategy wasn't just reckless, it was fundamentally flawed. She cut budgets in areas that kept clients loyal, threw money at flashy social media stunts that got some clicks but zero conversions. And worst, she alienated our senior account managers. Half of them quit or went on leave. Jenna nodded grimly. The culture's a mess, people feel like they're walking on eggshells, the creativity's there, sure, but it's all surface level, no backbone. I took a deep breath. So it's not just about marketing tactics, it's a leadership and culture crisis. The truth hit hard. Ridgway wasn't just bleeding financially, it was losing its soul. And that soul had been built on years of trust, consistency, and relationships. Emily's arrival had flipped the script in the name of being trendy, but had forgotten that trends are fleeting and trust isn't. That evening, I called Jake at Apex Creative, craving some outside perspective. You're stepping into a hornet's nest, Lisa, he said, no sugarcoating. But you're the only one who knows the hive well enough to calm it down. I chuckled, yeah, if only the hive wanted calming. Some of those execs are convinced the next TikTok dance will save the brand. He laughed, that's why you're their best shot. Experience isn't sexy, but it's what keeps the lights on. The next day, I walked into a meeting with the senior leadership team, a group half my age, all full of buzzwords and optimism. Emily, confidently perched at the head, launched into a presentation titled Ridgway Reimagined. The future is now. The slides sparkled with charts of growth potential and shiny logos from new clients she claimed to have wooed. But when I asked about retention rates and client satisfaction scores, the answers got fuzzy. It was clear the numbers didn't back up the flashy claims. After the meeting, Monica pulled me aside. They're scared of you, she whispered. Not because you're old, because you're real. You remind them what actual work looks like. I smiled. Sometimes being real means being the unwelcome truth. That week, I started digging deeper, reaching out to key clients who had left or were on the fence. Their stories echoed a similar theme. Ridgway had lost its focus on meaningful partnerships and replaced it with gimmicks that didn't deliver. One client told me, Emily's team is fun, but we don't trust them to deliver results. It's like hiring a magician for your wedding, entertaining, but you want the band to play the music you love. The analogy stuck. Ridgway had become the magician, dazzling the crowd but forgetting the tune. Internally, I tried to rebuild bridges with the account managers, many still bitter and disillusioned. In one late-night conversation with Sarah, a senior account director, she confessed, I almost quit after Emily took over. It felt like all my experience didn't matter anymore. I didn't recognize the place I loved. I told her honestly, I'm here to fix that, but I need your help. We have to bring back what made Ridgway strong, a team that believes in each other and the work. Her eyes softened. If you're serious, Lisa, I'm in. Bit by bit, the pieces started coming together. But just as momentum was building, I faced a new dilemma. Jake called again with an official offer from Apex Creative, a director position with full autonomy and a chance to lead a team that valued experience as much as innovation. The choice weighed heavily: stay and fight a battle where I was both savior and outsider, or step into a new role where my leadership would be welcomed and respected. That night I sat alone, staring out at the Chicago skyline, wondering which path to take. The company that had replaced me was now calling for my help, but the future I'd dreamed of was knocking at my door. Sometimes, the hardest decisions aren't about fighting battles, they're about knowing which battles are worth fighting. After that pivotal meeting, I thought I had a clear path ahead. I knew what needed to be done to turn Ridgway marketing around. But what I hadn't counted on was how many invisible walls I'd have to break through, and how many unseen hands would try to hold me back. First, there was the obvious tension between me and Emily's supporters. The young, energetic team who had bought into the fresh perspective mantra weren't exactly thrilled to see me walking back into their territory. Some gave me polite nods, others barely concealed their skepticism, like I was a relic wandering the halls of a tech startup. I overheard whispered comments. She's stuck in the past, or worse, I hope she doesn't ruin the vibe. One morning, I found myself in a strategy meeting with the core creative team. Emma, the lead designer and one of Emily's staunchest allies, challenged me outright. "Lisa," she said, crossing her arms, "we appreciate your experience, but the market moves fast. Clients want bold, innovative campaigns, not the same old safe plays." I smiled, trying to keep it calm. "Innovation is important, Emma, but it needs a foundation. You can't build a skyscraper on quicksand." She gave me a look, equal parts challenge and dismissal. "We're building a skyscraper, Lisa, just one that dances." "Dances," I echoed, "but a skyscraper has to stand first." The room went quiet for a moment. I could feel the divide, and it wasn't just about ideas. It was about trust and respect. The younger team didn't trust my methods, I didn't trust their impulsiveness. Then came the budget battles. Tom, the finance director, was my ally in some ways, but still wary. "Lisa," he said bluntly, "the board's running scared. They've poured money into some of these trendy campaigns without results, and they want quick fixes. They're worried you'll slow things down." I sighed. "Quick fixes won't fix what's broken. We need a plan that lasts." "But they want results yesterday," Tom replied, "and they don't have the patience for a slow rebuild." That pressure trickled down into every decision, every meeting. The board wanted change, but change on their timeline, not mine. Meanwhile, Emily's presence lingered like a shadow. Though she'd been quietly pushed aside, her influence was still strong. Some team members remained fiercely loyal to her vision, creating subtle factions. One afternoon, Monica pulled me aside, her face lined with frustration. "Lisa, some of the newer hires are resisting you. They see you as an obstacle to the new Ridgeway. It's like you're the past trying to rewrite the future." I nodded. "I'm not here to erase the future. I'm here to save the company from losing it all." Monica sighed. "It's a tough sell. Especially when Trendy was the promise." On top of internal politics, I faced the emotional toll. Sarah, a senior account director and one of my closest colleagues, confided over coffee, "Lisa, this place feels like a battlefield. People are scared, burnt out. It's like we're mourning the company we lost." I put a hand on hers. "Then we have to bring that company back together." But even as pockets of support emerged, resistance was fierce. In one meeting, I proposed refocusing on core clients and streamlining campaigns to deliver quality over quantity. That's when Marcus, a young marketing analyst, spoke up sharply. "Lisa, clients want viral moments, social buzz. Playing it safe won't cut it anymore." I smiled, though inside I was tired. "Marcus, viral moments are great, but viral fades, building trust lasts. Which would you bet on?" The debate went on, a tug-of-war between past and present, experience and novelty. Amid all this, I couldn't ignore the call I'd received from Apex Creative. Jake's voice was steady as ever. "Lisa, the offer's on the table. Director role, full control, a chance to build your own legacy. No politics, no history to drag you down." That invitation was like a siren's song. The chance to leave the chaos behind and start fresh on my own terms. Every night I wrestled with my choices. Could I fix Ridgeway? Did I even want to? Or was it time to walk away for good? One evening, as I stared out my apartment window at the Chicago skyline, I realized that the biggest obstacle wasn't just the company's troubles. It was deciding where I truly belonged. Just when I thought the hardest part was managing Ridgeway's internal chaos and the uphill battle to rebuild trust, life threw me a curveball that changed everything. I'd been juggling late nights, endless meetings, and delicate conversations with wary clients when my phone buzzed with an unexpected email subject line. "Official offer, director position at Apex Creative." The sender, Jake. I stared at the screen, rereading the words like they were a secret code I wasn't sure I deserved. A director role with full authority to lead, no interference, and a team eager to work with me, not against me. It was everything I had hoped for when I started freelancing after Ridgeway let me go. And yet, I hadn't expected it to come now, right in the middle of the fight to save the company that had once replaced me. That evening, Monica called again. Her voice was strained but hopeful. "Lisa, the board has agreed. They want you back with full control. They're ready to give you the reins to fix this mess." Are you willing to come home? I leaned against the kitchen counter, gripping the phone like it was a lifeline and a noose at the same time. Monica, I said slowly, I appreciate the offer, truly, but I've just accepted a position elsewhere. A chance to build something new from the ground up. It's a hard choice, but one I have to honor. She was silent for a moment. Then, with a hint of desperation, she added, You're Ridgway's best shot. Without you, it might not survive. I felt the weight of her words settle over me. Ridgway was bleeding, drowning even, and they were reaching out for the very person they'd dismissed. The irony wasn't lost on me. 2 years ago, they thought I was outdated, replaced by a fresh face. Now that fresh face had nearly sunk the company, and they wanted me to come back and save it. But by then, I wasn't just someone waiting for a call. I was a director at Apex, with new responsibilities, new challenges, and a future that didn't involve cleaning up someone else's mess. That night, I sat alone, scrolling through memories of my time at Ridgway, the wins, the late nights, the laughter, and the fights. I thought about Emily, her bright eyes and bold ideas, and how the company's hunger for Trendy had blinded them to the steady hand that held it together for so long. I knew I could fix Ridgway. I had the experience, the passion, and the plan. But at what cost? Choosing to return would mean putting aside my growth, my new opportunities, and the respect I'd rebuilt for myself. It would mean walking back into a place that once told me I was no longer needed. In the end, I realized that the best revenge wasn't a dramatic comeback. It wasn't proving them wrong by saving their sinking ship. It was knowing my worth, standing by my choices, and embracing the future I wanted, not the past they tried to force on me. I called Monica back the next morning. Thank you for the offer, I said firmly. But my chapter at Ridgway has closed. I'm starting a new story now, and this time I'm the author. As I hung up, a quiet sense of peace settled over me. Sometimes walking away is the strongest move you can make. And as for Ridgway, well, I hope they learn that trends fade, but integrity, experience, and true leadership last. The morning after I declined Ridgway's offer, a strange calm settled over me, but underneath, the storm was still raging. I had made my choice, but that didn't mean the crisis was over. In fact, it was just beginning. Ridgway's situation was worse than I'd thought. Without me, the cracks I'd seen were now wide gashes. I kept getting updates through Jenna and a few trusted friends still inside. Clients were pulling contracts, the creative team was fracturing, and morale hit new lows. The company that had once been my home was slipping through its own fingers, and it hurt, even if I wasn't there to catch it. But the real crisis wasn't just Ridgway's collapse. It was the internal battle I fought every day, between loyalty and self-respect, between what I owed the company and what I owed myself. I remember sitting across from Mark, my husband, late one night, the glow of the city lights casting shadows across our kitchen table. Are you sure about this? He asked gently, walking away when they need you most. I looked him in the eye. I'm sure. It's not just about saving Ridgway, it's about saving me from a cycle where I'm only valued when it's convenient. I deserve to be wanted for who I am, not just what I can fix. Mark nodded, squeezing my hand. Then you're doing the right thing, it's your story now. That conversation became my anchor. I realized that sometimes the hardest crisis isn't the one outside, but the one within, the fight to believe in your worth, even when the world tells you otherwise. Ridgway was my past, but Apex Creative was my future. And to truly move forward, I had to let go, not just of the company, but of the need to prove anything to anyone who once dismissed me. The crisis was real, but it was also a crossroads, a moment where I could choose to rise, not by returning to old battles, but by stepping boldly into new ones. After making that difficult choice, I fully embraced the new chapter waiting for me at Apex Creative. The relief of no longer carrying the burden of Ridgway's sinking ship was immediate. Instead of firefighting someone else's mistakes, I could focus on building something fresh, something that reflected not just my skills, but my values. At Apex, I found a team that didn't just respect my experience, they sought it out. Meetings were collaborative, decisions grounded in both creativity and strategy. The energy was different, hopeful, focused, and driven by a shared purpose rather than chasing fleeting trends. The director role came with challenges, of course. But this time, I wasn't fighting uphill battles against entrenched politics or skepticism. I was leading a group that believed in steady growth, in learning from the past to innovate responsibly. It felt like coming home, to a place I hadn't yet built but was proud to call mine. Meanwhile, news trickled in about Ridgway. They struggled to regain footing, cycling through leaders and strategies. The trendy approach that once cost them dearly continued to hamper their progress. I heard whispers that some of the young talent who had embraced Emily's style were leaving, frustrated by the chaos. I felt no bitterness, only clarity. I had made the right choice, not by clinging to what was familiar, but by trusting myself to forge a new path. Looking back, being replaced wasn't the end of my story. It was the catalyst that led me to rediscover my worth and find a place where my experience mattered, not as a nostalgic relic, but as the foundation of something better. Sometimes, stepping away is the most powerful way to move forward. And sometimes, the best victories come not from returning, but from rising anew. Looking back, it's clear to me that being replaced was never really about my age or my ability. It was about a moment in time when companies chase what's shiny and new, sometimes at the cost of what truly matters. Ridgway wanted to be trendy, and in that pursuit, they forgot that experience, patience, and steady hands are the backbone of lasting success. I didn't come back to save the day, not because I lacked the skills, but because I knew my worth went beyond being a quick fix or a stopgap. I had grown into a leader who chose where to invest her time and energy, and this time I bet on myself. At Apex Creative, I found not just a job, but a place where my voice matters. A place where trendy means smart innovation backed by experience, not just flashy gimmicks. I'm leading a team that values what I bring to the table, not because it's old, but because it works. To anyone out there feeling sidelined or replaced, remember, trends fade, but your value doesn't. Sometimes, the best move isn't to chase the approval of those who let you go, but to build something new where you're truly appreciated. So here's my final thought: being replaced wasn't the end of my story. It was the opening chapter to a stronger, smarter future. And sometimes, the greatest victories come not from going back, but from stepping forward with confidence. Because in the end, it's not about being trendy. It's about being real. And that never goes out of style.